The portal opens today, and I'm going to tell you guys something that may get me in trouble. But at the end of the day, I don't care. It is what it is. I told you guys last year about this when it happened, but I want to quickly revisit it, and then I want to back it up with some facts, some information that your cane buddies or the trolls that you fight on the internet won't have an answer for. But first, last year, during the Zaquan Patterson recruitment, Mario Cristobal had his goons start the narrative that Mike Norvell and FSU will not play you if you're not a portal guy. Check out this article from David Lake at Canes 247. He said, despite having these players earn significant roles as true freshmen, FSU has not shown a willingness to stick with them through the development process, turning to the transfer portal to replace them. FSU's top-ranked signee from the 23 class, Hakeem Williams, was a five-star prospect, and during the summer months, the Seminoles added transfer receiver Keon Coleman from Michigan State. Williams was FSU's first five-star composite since Akers, Kando, and Marvin Wilson in 2017. This is year 4 of the Mike Norvell tenure, and 16 of the projected 22 starters are the Seminoles are transfers. Talented true freshmen will play under Mario Cristobal at Miami. That's a message UM hopes will land David Stone and Zaquan Patterson in their lead up to the commitments. Now, not here to necessarily open up old wounds, but I do know for a fact that this article and the propaganda narrative therein made their way in front of Zaquan Patterson. And I'm not necessarily sure that was the deciding factor or not, but he did end up at Miami and not at FSU in a commitment over the summer. However, we are 8 months later. And here's the truth about what's happening and what's going to happen at Miami this week.
The most enigmatic team, though, to talk about right now at the higher levels to me is Miami because of how aggressive I think they're going to be in the portal. Therefore, how incomplete this year's starting lineup probably is right now. I don't know who the names are going to be. Got some guesses, but I don't know who the names are going to be. But there will be starters, for all intents and purposes, on that team, maybe by the end of this coming week, that aren't on it right now.
Multiple starters. Where did Pate say they were coming from? Well, they're not summer enrollees from their recruiting class. They're not guys that just haven't shown up quite yet. They're not from that vaunted top 5 recruiting class that Mario had in 2024. No, multiple starters coming from the transfer portal, which opens up today. Isn't that interesting? After all of the noise we heard about how Mario develops guys, how he wants to play the young guys, how he wants to play the guys he's recruited out of high school. After all that we heard about how the stability was different, how the stability was everything with that program, how development mattered, how Norvell wouldn't develop you, but Cristobal would. Well, here's a lesson in Mario Cristobal's stability and development. One of you out there will clip this for social media, and I'm glad that you will. In 4 years as head coach at Oregon, Mario Cristobal signed 55 blue chip recruits in the 2018, 19, 20, and 21 classes. 30 of those blue chippers, that's 55%, more than half, did not even finish their careers with Cristobal at Oregon. The breakdown, in 2018, they signed 11 blue chippers. 4 exited the program. In 2019, they signed 15 blue chippers. 7 exited the program. In 2020, they signed 9 blue chip recruits. 6 exited the program. In 2021, they signed 20 of them. 13 exited the program. What about when he got to Miami? In the class of 2022, he signed 10 blue chip prospects. 4 have already left, and there are rumors that more are on the way out this cycle that's open now. It will likely be 6 or 7 of the 10 he originally signed. It's a little early to start counting what happened in 23 and 24, but you start to see a pattern. It's not just the on-the-field guys. It's not just the recruits either. In his 4 years as head coach at Oregon, Cristobal had the nation's most staff attrition. Coaches off-field support, etc. In 2017 through 2021, Oregon had 48 staff departures. In 2022 through the present, Miami's had between 20 and 30 staff departures. The guys that have been there and are still committed from that first class, 2022. One of them has 1 tackle in 2 years. Another has no stats. A couple more have some stats and have been playing. A couple more are looking at going in the portal just even now. There's another one that has 1 touchdown in his time there. I say all this to say the narrative around Mario being an elite developer, he can't even hold on to his guys. Now, I'll say this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with going to the portal and finding quality pieces. Florida State has excelled at it. Florida State absolutely needed it. We've talked about how Florida State, I don't know if Mike Norvell's grand plan was to go to the portal as much as he has, but he had to do it in order to save his job, and he absolutely excelled at it. But in 3 years, Miami has taken 37 guys from the transfer portal, and Florida State has taken 41. We're talking about a player difference a year. You've got 4 more in 3 seasons. And we'll see if that number isn't even closer for the Canes after this spring window. I would project that Miami may have more than 4 more pickups than FSU. We'll see after these next few weeks go by. The portal, though, is a viable way to build your roster. There's nothing wrong with it. Florida State's classes when Norvell got here just frankly were not good enough. They weren't up to the standard at Florida State. And that's no shot at any kid that we took in those classes, but a large group of them just weren't up to snuff. Norvell did not recruit super well. We've talked about Norvell's recruiting at length on this channel. So for David Lake or anyone else to imply that Norvell should have stuck with those freshmen or sophomores instead of going out and getting more talented guys who were available is completely asinine. The logic doesn't even line up. Hey, you recruited these guys, and even though they're not good enough and you're losing games to Jacksonville State, you should stick with them. It's crazy. Obviously, Norvell knew what he was doing. Norvell won 13 games in 2023. Mario has 12 wins in 2 years. In any aspect of life, if you can bring in more talent to your team or roster or organization, you're going to do it. The Bucs drafted Jameis Winston, and for all intent and purposes, really liked who he was as a player and person. And though it broke my heart to see him go, they had an opportunity to go out in free agency and get Tom Brady, and they did it. But the Miami propaganda machine would say you shouldn't do that. They would say you should be loyal to the original guy. At least that's what they were saying last offseason. And you've seen that Miami propaganda machine slow down on that development narrative. You've seen them on 247 and Canes Insight and everywhere else start to embrace the portal because they know that they're about to grab several starters from there. And they're going to replace starters, guys Mario recruited out of high school, with the portal guys, which again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. If you can improve your team, do it. But feeding the Miami beat, and more importantly, the recruits that you lie to, a load of BS just to turn around and do the same exact thing that Mike Norvell has done to make him successful is dishonest. And it shows why nobody sticks around to play for him. He is a great used car salesman who does a phenomenal job of getting kids in the front door. But when enough time has passed, they see the truth. And most run as far away as they can. Again, at Oregon, well over 50% of his blue chip guys did not stick around to play with him. The 2022 class is going to be up around or over 50%, and we'll see what 23 and 24 look like as time goes. I'll tell you who Mario can't fake out. He can't fake out these experts who refuse to recognize him right here.